Oh, we love Mondays. Oh, we love Mondays here on the Natter. We had Daily Dive at the typical 10 a.m. They gave away some prizes this morning. I don't know the person that won it. I saw the name on the screen, but congratulations to that person. We're live Mondays and Thursdays, 8 p.m. The Great Divide. It helps to put my ticker on so you know who I am if you haven't watched this yet. This is our third show. Very much excited about tonight. Tons of topics. I wanted to get to sports. I don't do that every show. I think I did the first show, not the second show. Miami of Ohio's 29-0, and people are talking about they may not make the tournament. But there's a couple other things going on before we get into them. I do want to mention top right-hand corner of your screen is the QR code to our ticketing platform. It helps the network out, just a small way of helping us out. It doesn't do anything but take you straight to the platform. You don't pay extra, nothing. It just tells that platform you came from us, gets us a little credit. We would greatly appreciate it. On our website, you can see other shopping affiliates that we have, Amazon and other ones. Some cool products out there, some really good coffee, and we're working on some other ones. Just a small way you can help the Natter, North American Talk Radio. Again, this is The Great Divide. I'm Jeff Beck. It's Monday night. It snowed again today after we had 50s on the weekend. Well, last Thursday show, I even mentioned it was in the 50s. So I'm feeling a little under the weather, but I think I'm going to be okay for tonight's show. We usually try to do a tight 30. I had some wine on Thursday, so I went over. So we'll try to keep a tight 30 today. Of course, Thursday night, I mentioned the looming war with Iran. Unfortunately, that has kicked off. And I say unfortunately because, war's ugly. It always is. Now, is it for a good cause? We're going to get into some of the reasons because there are a lot of debates going on online, a lot of people arguing about this. There's a lot of protest at the same time. We're going to talk about it at the same time. Iranian refugees in America or people that have come to America and got their citizenship are celebrating. Iranians in Iran are celebrating. We do have protesters in America. Pretty much standard with every war, you're going to have protesters. But we will get into some of the reasons geopolitically why this is happening. I know it's an ugly thing. One of my topics tonight is, the big files, the Epstein files. Is this a distraction? I don't think so. But yeah, the Iran war has kicked off. Epic fury, they're calling it. I have it on the news behind the screen here. And, we took out, I think, something like 49 of their leaders. The Ayatollah went down initially. They named a new one. That guy went down. So we're really striking them hard. Now, they've had counter strikes. Of course, Amazon AWS was down because one of their hubs was hit hard. So I think this is going to get ugly. I mean, America's coming out, the president's coming out and saying the major wave hasn't even happened yet. So things could get ugly. Unfortunately, we've had 4 Americans die. So war's always ugly. But let's get into why, some of the reasons why this is happening. And they're not all, I wouldn't say they're all good reasons because, we took over Venezuelan oil, right? So now we have all this extra oil in America. And then we attack Iran, to take out the leader, take out the Ayatollah who's committed, numerous human rights violations, just murdered tens of thousands of protesters in their own country. The former Ayatollah is quoted in the past as saying, any virgin women in prison should be raped so they can't go to heaven. This is the type of regime we're dealing with. People that sponsor terror. So, if you're looking at the human rights part, it's good that we can eradicate evil, but we also have to look at all possibilities of why is this happening. And, we captured Maduro, we took over their oil, then we attack Iran. It's going to cause oil to spike. The Straits of Hormuz is shutting down. That's going to tighten the supply of oil around the world. And China buys 80 to 90% of their exports, the oil they import from Iran. So that's going to It's going to put a chokehold on China. I know North Korea, Russia, they get oil from Iran. So, are there more reasons to this? Maybe some nefarious reasons, not just to take out an evil dictator. That's up for debate. I tend to think in my mind, if you want to know my opinion, taking out pure evil is good. But, are we going to do it everywhere? Because I saw, I don't know if it was a meme or real. Yeah, here's the other thing. I don't know what's real in the world anymore. There's so much AI. But I did see a meme, probably a joke. It was Putin. It was Kim Jong-un saying, asking America, why did you attack Iran? Because they have nuclear weapons. Why don't you attack us? Because you have nuclear weapons. So, we're going to take out evil when we can, I guess, but it's not going to be across the board. Okay? That's just how it is. Do we feel like it's going to be swift or not? Now, they're saying this is going to take a couple weeks, which is scary too. And I hate seeing war footage. I really do. It's ugly. It takes millions of lives. But again, if we're going to try to find a silver lining in this, we're taking out pure evil. People that murdered their own people were making nuclear weapons. If they treat their own people like that, how are they going to treat the rest of the world? And they were teaming up with, let's be frank, other evil leaders. So that's one way to look at it. Now, what bothered me and why I really wanted to talk about this, and hopefully these aren't too loud, but before I get to the thing that bothered me, let's look in the streets of Tehran. They're celebrating, of course. So that was encouraging. And then, CNN had the show people celebrating. I know that might have bothered them a little bit.
You see the gathering there behind her. Julia, how is the Iranian community responding?
Well, this gathering has only grown, Jessica, over the past few hours, since we've gotten here. It has amassed a large number of people, and the celebration is striking. We got here just...
Now, a lot of people were commentating online that CNN, begrudgingly covered this. She doesn't look begrudged, if that's a word, but, they did report on it.
Moments after initial rumors of the death of Ayatollah Khamenei had just started to trickle from Iran.
So celebrations going on everywhere, but then you see we have conflicting. So Iranian people are celebrating freedom, leftists in North Carolina protesting it. So this is where I'm going to comment. We'll show more video here in a minute, but I can understand Americans are always going to protest war. We don't like war, generally speaking, but I think I'm going to take the opinion of people that had to live under this regime. I think I'm going to take the opinion of the women that had to live under the barbaric rules of Iran. I think if they're celebrating, I can feel like I can celebrate. And that's what John Fetterman was saying, a Democrat, by the way, that we'll get to here in a minute. But I'm not going to take the opinion, of a person in North Carolina that probably has been to a Starbucks and an Einstein bagel today when they went to their office job. And now they're pissed off because maybe they hate the president. Maybe they just hate war. Okay, like I said, most of us hate war. It's ugly. Lives are ruined. But we're taking out evil. And if the inhabitants of that country, whether they're still there or in America now, are celebrating, that should be your social cue that maybe this is a good thing. Maybe this is something that needed to be done. But I'm not going to listen to somebody in the Midwest or the West Coast upset about it when actual Iranians are celebrating it. They're celebrating it for a reason, because they had barbaric rules ever since 1979. Before that, they had pro-Western style living. The women could dress however they wanted. They were virtually free. And then the current regime took over and things went south, right? So if we look at some of the things they did in 1979, the Iranian Revolution replaced the pro-Western monarchy with a theocratic state, I'm sorry, I'm wound up now, focused on exporting an Islamic political model. That's when they started treating women poorly. They had these draconian rules. And, now you see the Iranian people feeling free, they can take a breath. And I got to listen to Barb, in the suburbs, tell me why this is bad. No, I'm not going to do it. And you know what? A CBS reporter said no, too. So I'm going to pause this. I'm going to pause that for just a second. He was giving marching orders from corporate to don't cover what's behind you because they're celebrating this. We want to show protest. And he pretty much said, no, I'm going to show this. So I don't know if that was loud enough for you at home, but he said, what does this mean? And he said, they don't want us to focus on this because they're celebrating that we've taken out the Ayatollah. And he says, well, I am. So good for him. It's sometimes good to stand up to your employer. So there again, we have conflicting protests, Iranian women celebrating their freedom, American women protesting it. Now, to be fair, the American women aren't protesting that the Iranian women have their freedom. They're protesting that there's an actual war kicking off. But I don't think they're, basing it totally on is this good for society as a whole. I think they're kind of basing it on, maybe there's a little bit of TDS there. I mean, we had, Democratic presidents have attacked in the Middle East before. We didn't see this backlash. Now, we did have the right putting up a little bit of a fuss in Congress, but not taking to the streets en masse like this. So, and you had things like, people flying plane messages. I don't know what those are called. Thank you, Trump, from Iranian people. So there you go. We had kind of a mixed bag in the streets in America. Now, you do have one Democrat, and if there's more, I apologize. But John Fetterman reminds me of a 90s, early 2000s Democrat when I basically voted almost strictly Democrat myself, kind of centrist, and just common sense in my mind. And here's some of the things he said. Why can't we celebrate this?
Well, I mean, what I can say is that why can't we all just celebrate what happened today? That was just profound and incredible. And as you pointed out, as the president did, this was one of the most evil people that ever lived. And after 37 years in Iran, he's been eliminated.
So there you go. And another one, people were saying, well, Trump violated the War Powers Act. Here's Fetterman again.
Have people ever read the War Powers Act? What's required of the president is to provide 48 hours of notification. And then he or she have 60 days, up to 90 days to withdraw those troops, before Congress approves that. Neither of those have been activated. He did provide that to the Gang of Eight. And there are no American troops on the ground now. This was an incredibly, incredibly precise and successful strikes. And they eliminated most of the leadership. So here we are. So yes, I do support that. Why can't...
So there you go. The War Powers Act isn't in effect yet. Okay. And asking Congress permission before attacking hasn't happened in my lifetime. So, and I'm going to be 53 this year. So he's not doing anything different than any other president did when it comes to getting everybody's permission. If that's your hang up. If your hang up is he took out a leader of another country, it's the second one. Where are all the no kings people? If you don't want kings, this is a perfect example. So what are we mad about? I think we're just mad because of who's in charge and doing it. Okay? I don't really have the energy to take sides. All I'm saying is you've had presidents on the other side of the aisle do similar actions and you're not this upset. So it kind of tells me the only reason you're upset is because you hate the current president. You don't give a shit about the Iranian people? You don't care about the women and the abuse they take? You don't care about the protesters? Think about it. You're mad that we attacked Iran, so you're in the street protesting. But if you protested in Iran like that, they'd kill you. They've killed tens of thousands of people in the last year. So maybe this is a good thing. Okay, and maybe you ought to take a step back and realize most of you on Twitter and Facebook don't know what you're talking about and couldn't run a country. Okay, so let's settle down just a little bit. Now, if you're mad that we're doing this and we perhaps have this large pedophile ring that's nothing being done about it, I could start to see your point, okay? Because I'm going to pull up a figure for you that may be depressing on a Monday evening. There's been no arrest in the United States so far in connection with the release of the Epstein files. And get this is rich. Bill Clinton and Donald Trump are vouching for each other. Okay. Two of the most implicated fellas in the files are vouching for each other. You got to be kidding me. Now, this is what Bill's wife, Hillary, did in her deposition.
There are photos that are being released of the secretary as she is testifying from inside this room. Can you please advise me as to whether or not that's permissible and consistent with the rules, particularly given that we have asked for a public hearing? If there are photos that are being released of the secretary as she is testifying, can you please explain how that
I'm
can
done
occur?
with this. If you guys are doing that, I am done. You can hold me in contempt from now until the cows come home. This is just typical behavior.
We will go off the record.
Oh, for heaven's
So I would like
sake.
to understand how that's permissible.
Before the hearing was,
It doesn't
Excuse
matter.
me.
We all are abiding by the same rules.
I will take that down.
Yeah,
So I
well,
would like to take a break at this moment.
yeah,
and I'd like to have
I'm
a
done
conversation.
for now.
Go off the record. Go off the record.
Okay, so she throws a hissy fit. Bill Clinton vouches for Donald Trump. Donald Trump says this.
I don't know anything about the Epstein files, I've been fully exonerated.
Okay, I've been fully exonerated. I don't know that that's true. Who's exonerated him other than the voices in his own head? So we're not going to get anywhere. Nobody's going to do anything about it. So maybe this is why people are pissed that we're starting wars. We're not addressing the Epstein files. We're doing everything but that. You got Trump vouching for Clinton, Clinton vouching for Trump, Hillary's throwing hissy fits. We're redacting half the files, if they're all even released. And then people are blaming the current administration for not doing anything. They at least, 3 million files? This next election, this is what he said.
Ladies and gentlemen, keep in mind that the Epstein files were in existence and free to have been opened during the Biden administration. You were there for 4 years. How come you didn't open it as a Democratic Party then? What am I missing? I'm not saying I know. It's a legitimate question. Maybe I don't remember the answer. Maybe my extraordinary producers should be able to help me during the commercial break. But from my understanding, the same files that were open or being open now with the 220 pages of documents or whatever it is, with various emails, that could have been done when Biden was in office.
I'll tell Stephen A. why it's happening. They're covering for each other. I just said it. Not Biden. Trump vouched for Clinton. He said, I hate to see him deposed. He shouldn't be deposed. Clinton saying, I've never heard anything about Trump being involved. Those are just two guys. Imagine the whole force of this. Good luck, America. I'm going to take a commercial break. We're going to come back, talk about crypto and oil, and then sign off. Monday, March 2nd. We're already into March. My goodness, I'm getting old. The Great Divide with Jeff Beck. We'll be right back.
You're listening to North American Talk Radio, the all-new talk radio station featuring sports, movies, politics, mental health, and more. Check us out at natalkradio.com and subscribe today. Buy event tickets straight from our website to help the cause and get tickets to your favorite events for less. That's natalkradio.com. Thanks for listening.
Welcome back in. Cut the music. We got to cut the music. Monday night, March 2nd, 2026. We're already into March. I'm Jeff Beck, your host of The Great Divide. Mondays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Natter, North American Talk Radio. We're talking Iran war. We're talking Epstein files. So why not? Let's get right into crypto. So if you don't know anything about crypto, you have all kinds of different kind of assets in crypto. It's not, I think everybody kind of lumps them in, but you have some utility there. You have some stable coins. You have meme coins. So I think, everybody's trying to get together and define what is what, how are we going to utilize it, and then kind of get some regulation behind it. And I think a lot of people in the crypto world think, the regulation's going to lead to more knowns instead of unknowns. It'll help stabilize prices. People can actually make investments in it and kind of go from there. But before we get to that, I want you to hear this.
I mean, the big banks have been an absolute monopoly over our financial system for years. You and I have joked about it 1,000 times. Why can't you send a wire transfer past 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon? You know why? Because the big banks would love to take hundreds of billions of dollars and have it sit there and clip interest off of it over the course of a long weekend, as opposed to letting you just efficiently move that money using modern day technology, and have it in a separate wallet 2 seconds later. They want to be able to use their money. They want to be able to arbitrage their money. And so, the big banks are doing everything they can to stop some of the crypto legislation for obvious reasons. Why?
Yeah, there's no doubt the big banks don't like this. So a few things, banks, if you don't know, if you're young people or you just don't know, whatever, it's okay. But let's say banks have $5 million worth of deposits from the customers. The $5 million isn't in the bank, right? They make their money by loaning it out. They only have to float, I think it's 3 to 5%. I don't remember the exact percentage. Maybe it's higher. Maybe it's 10%. But they don't have to have the cash on hand. So they're making interest off the loans, and they're making interest off of the money sitting in the bank. So they hate crypto, right? And they're kind of stalling it. I've heard rumors that Coinbase is stalling it too for some, various reasons. But we got kind of a tussle going on in the world, not just America, where I feel like, and I hold assets. I'm going to tell you, I hold some assets, XRP, Cardano, a little Bitcoin. And this is what we go through in the world when it comes to big banking and who controls the monetary policy, which ultimately affects all of us. And we're going to get into the oil crisis next about, with this war comes the oil crisis. So they're controlling how we can hold, spend, and save money or invest money. And then, prices jack up. And young Eric Trump had a good point there. The big banks hate this because, when the war in Iran started, had Iranians held Bitcoin, they'd still have it. Nobody could get to it. A lot of them had their savings decimated, if they had any, because this war took off. So, who keeps that? Where did it go? So they're trying to pass it. I mean, part of the reason they're trying to create a clear legal framework for classifying different types of digital assets, which I said, commodities versus securities and stable coins. They need clear, regulatory authority between the SEC, and the CFTC. And that's kind of the tussle we have going on, is all these power brokers are kind of holding it down. So that's disturbing. I didn't like to see that news. It was supposed to be passed by now. The president said I'm giving you till March 1st to come up with a resolution. It got through the House. I think it's got to get through the Senate. Just another case, not to bring you down, just another case. So I said something about the oil crisis. We have an oil crisis on our way. The Straits of Hormuz has been shut down. That's where I'm going to show you a video. I don't even have to talk about it. Here's a video explaining what this is going to do.
If Iran blocks the Strait of Hormuz, what impact will it have on the entire world, and which country will be affected the most? First, let's understand what the Strait of Hormuz actually is. It is a small area of just 33 kilometers located between Iran, Oman, and the UAE. It is a narrow sea passage through which almost 20% of the world's oil supply flows, nearly 17 million barrels every day. This oil comes from 8 countries located in the Persian Gulf, including Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE for the United Arab Emirates. Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Qatar, 90% of their oil exports pass through this narrow route to reach the rest of the world. If Iran blocks the Strait of Hormuz, following countries will suffer the most damage. First is India, because it imports 85% of its oil, and 60% of that comes from Middle Eastern countries like Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and the UAE. Fuel prices in India would skyrocket, and as a result, everything related to oil and all industries would face severe disruption. Industries could shut down, there would be job losses, and the economy would be severely affected. The second most affected country would be China. China is the world's largest oil importer, bringing in 10 million barrels of oil every day.
Which is why a lot of people say
is this Strait of Hormuz.
The strategy
China
behind
has
this war.
Oil pipelines with Russia and Central Asia, they don't even fulfill 20% of its energy needs. So, if the Strait of Hormuz is blocked, China's economy could suffer a massive blow. And if China's economy is shaken, its effects will be felt all over the world. The third most affected country would be Japan, as it imports 90% of its oil, and 75% of that passes through the Strait of Hormuz. The fourth most affected country would be Saudi Arabia. 80 to 90% of Saudi Arabia's oil goes to the rest of the world through Strait of Hormuz, while only 10% goes to Europe via its Red Sea coastline. So if this choke point is blocked, Saudi Arabia's economy will be heavily impacted. Imagine that a country suddenly loses 80 to 90% of its revenue. What would happen to it? Something similar could happen to Saudi Arabia. There's also a high chance that Saudi
Which America wouldn't dream of doing.
To reopen the route, and that could make the situation even worse. Fifth is Pakistan, which gets about 90% of its oil through the Strait of Hormuz. This oil meets around 27% of the country's energy needs. So if the route is blocked, prices in Pakistan could rise sharply. But there's an interesting twist. Since Pakistan shares a border with Iran, and several government reports suggest that 35% of Pakistan's diesel comes unofficially from Iran. So if the strait is blocked, Pakistan might turn to Iran for oil, either quietly or through an official deal. Next in line is the UAE, because as nearly as 72% of its oil exports rely on this Strait of Hormuz. The country does have a backup option, the Habshan-Fujairah pipeline, which allows it to bypass the strait and export up to 60% of its oil. But for a major economy like the UAE, losing the remaining 40% would still be a serious blow. Next comes the European countries like France, Germany and Italy, which on average get 10% of their oil through the Strait of Hormuz. A blockade here would hit them hard as well. Globally, experts warn that oil prices could soar past $150 a barrel, causing widespread inflation and possibly triggering a major global recession. So this small 33-kilometer area holds enough power to shake the entire world.
To give you perspective, the price of oil, a barrel of oil right now is about 70. So, I mean, the only advice I could say is good luck. This is The Great Divide with Jeff Beck, Monday night. I hope you have a good rest of your night and a great week.